You don't have to stay over there. Can somebody just go and just tell me, like, just come over here and say it's working or not? If y'all are working, we'll just deal with y'all for today, and we'll make it work. It's still out. I mean, I just put it back on. It's out now. Do you see anything popping up as far as the live session now? It's not working from before. Yes. Is it working now, or it's not working right now? Like, it's not working at this moment. Okay. Okay, it is working. Okay, cool. All right, we'll go with that. If these are the main two. So we'll go with what we got. Thank you guys for patience and all that. It is what it is. All righty. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this other device down because we don't even need it. Sorry to everybody else. If you usually get something on the podcast or something like that, today's not gonna be your day. I don't want to play around with any more signal stuff. If this is what's working, this is what's working. Working fine, slight delay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go with this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Praise you. Alrighty, okay, so this is what we're gonna work with. Praise y'all. Alrighty, okay. Sorry about that, y'all. Barashayat, Gaimon. I'm sorry, Barashayat, Gaimon, 5, Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. That's where we're gonna start. We'll do our Bible pledge. Praise y'all. Once again, because of the setup, I can't really see everybody's comments that well. So we'll do the best we can. Thank you to everybody. I've seen a few names, but I didn't see everybody's name. So just off the dome, and even some of you might not even be on anymore because it took us so long to do this. But thank you for being on. Shalom. Peace. How you doing, Sister Renee? Minister Smail, thank you again for the word. Elder Select, Tamara, Minister Shantae, Dr. T, my wife, Elder Ahmed, thanks for being on, babe. Love you very much. Bruder Charles, I think I saw. See, if I do this off the top of my head, I'm gonna miss somebody. But y'all know I love y'all. Sister Shirley, I think I saw Sister Iska, Sister Monica. I can't recall. It's not gonna be a great day for me, even the comment section. But just know that we love y'all. Double OG, triple OG. So I'm gonna do my best. If I miss you today, it's even like a little worse than what I normally would have, even in this vehicle. I'm still not used to setting up in this vehicle yet. So just know that mad love and respect and appreciation, especially for y'all who stuck by for us just trying to get this thing to work today. Alrighty. So I don't know. I'm not even gonna be paying attention if it goes in or out. I'm gonna just be obedient. We're on YouTube and TikTok today only, at least for right now. I might give it a shot if Holy Spirit directs otherwise later on, to try some of the setup again. But for right now, we're on YouTube and TikTok, so we'll get it in. Sister Mignon, everybody. All right, so we'll say our Bible pledge, and we'll get started. Bible pledge goes as follows. This is my Bible. This is my sword, and this will I trust. Yahashua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard, for this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hacham Yechava Aman. We'll be reading Barashayat, Gaimon 5, or Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. That's where we'll start. Sorry once again for the delays and everything that's been taking place. All this rising. It is what it is. Everything was working fine before we started. Nothing was working. Praise God. I was actually over here when Minister Smail was preaching this rising. So for it to go from that to this is kind of wild, but it is what it is. So we're going to start at verse 6. And shout out to Dwayne and Beck. Hopefully you all are doing well. And Abram and Danach, right? hopefully all is well with each and every one of you. If I miss you once again, please forgive me. I got light in my face and the lights on the screen and some other things, so it is what it is. But prayerfully, you all are doing well. Love y'all to life. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's read, and then we'll go ahead and get into this. So Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. Barashayat atvav. It reads as follows. It says, "And when the woman saw that the vegetation was tabah for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat." Once again, we've just read Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. May Yahweh bless those who read him, especially adhere to his most holy word. You may be seated or go back to what you were doing in the presence of Yah. So this is a very profound verse, especially if you were with us from on Saturday. And some of what we talked about in Q&A kind of goes with this as well. That even if you were with us, there was a lot that we talked about concerning Barashayat or Genesis chapter 3. And really, this is a whole series where we're just going to be going through the book of Genesis pretty much nonstop, right? And so, when we go through this and we talk about this, there's something here that's very key for us to see. Ayazar, the helpmeet, Aish, wife, or wombed man. She's not Eve yet, right? She's not Eve yet. If you notice, it's not even calling her Eve. Eve is when she's fallen, and the name Adam gives her when she falls. So we're still dealing with, even though a sin has taken place, here's a crazy thing, right? Not crazy, but a different way of looking at it. Sin has taken place here, and although sin has taken place, because everything we've been dealing with has been perfection up to this point. Even being tempted happens in perfection. Recall that, right? Don't forget that. That's an important piece. Even in perfection, tempting happens, but there has been no falling into temptation. Here, Ayazar has fallen into temptation. Right? And yet, although she has fallen into temptation, even in the fall, she still has not recognized her nakedness. Right? Don't miss that. Don't miss that. Even in her falling into temptation, she has not realized her nakedness. So her sin has still not been penalized yet. Why is that? I'm going to try my best to look at the comments as best I can. Help me out in the chat. I know it's been a while, right? Since I could finally talk, and it took us forever in the day to get started. But why is that? We already talked about this some, right? Why is it that Ayazar, that helped me, that Aishah, that wife, has fallen into temptation, but she has not recognized her nakedness as of yet? That's right, not until Adam has ate of this vine or bush or tree, etc., this vegetation that gives us fruit, and this fruit that we're not supposed to eat. That's a very powerful statement, or that's a very powerful word for us. That her head, that the husband, that Adam, has not, where she comes from even, has not fallen into temptation. Because it's very, because a lot of persons go, well, you know, Ayazar, she's the one that tempted man, and that's why you can't trust women and stuff, and woman has to be under the man. And they'll even take part of what Paul says, because Paul even says, hey, you know, it was the woman that was tempted. Some persons run with that to kind of go a little too far. The reality, though, is even when my wife is out of place, right, if that's the case, right, here is clearly the case. If my wife gets out of place, if Adam's wife is out of place, it's not until Adam, who's the covering, who's the one who taught her the law, who's the one that was given the law. If you don't agree with that, he definitely was given the law before her. Until he breaks the law, she's still covered. But don't miss that. That's a very important thing. And not just as far as husbands, wives, right? As far as chain of command, which we were talking about a lot. Somebody asked about Genesis 18 and Exodus 18, and Moses' father-in-law, and Jethro, and all that, and what was supposed to be done, and all these different things, etc., and how would we deal with that, and how can we deal with that in normal life. We talked about the importance of chain of command. Even in chain of command, it's extremely valuable and important for us to realize that even if you have a subordinate, so to speak, or you have somebody who's a servant, or you have somebody who's an indentured servant, or you have somebody you're in business with, you have somebody who's a team member, or you're a manager, or whatever the case might be, with all these titles that we have nowadays. Even with all that going on, and thank you for the love, with all that going on, we still have a responsibility to ensure that if we are on top, or if we are the leadership, our staying committed, even when everybody else is all over the place, is what ultimately will cause persons to not have to deal with the repercussions of their sin. You can actually, in that way you can stand, like we like to call it, stand the gap, right? Stand in the gap for others. In that way, as a leader, you are called to remain true to the word, to the law, to the commandment. The commandment is, don't eat of this thing that gives a fruit that you don't want the seed, right? You don't want this seed, this fruit, to influence your seed. Don't eat of it, right? And Adam is the one, now Eleazar is the one who holds seed. Adam is the one who gives seed. I need you to catch that too, because we're talking about a garden, right? And what is, I'm trying not to be, some persons, we have minds that are a little, we can kind of have what my mama would call a dirty mind, a nasty mind, sometimes, right? But we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to ensure that we recognize something very important. Remember, I said in one of the teachings we were led to talk about how a wife is attracted to works, right? A wife is attracted to works. Have you ever noticed that a wife is attracted to seed? And I'm not just talking about in the bedroom, although you can talk about that, right? But a wife is attracted to seed just as much as she's attracted to works. So what do I mean by that? Remember, the word seed in Hebrew is also the word for seed you put in the ground. It's the same word for semen, which a wife takes from her husband, but it also is the same word for word. So when we say the word became flesh, it literally, like I think we talked about this with Q&A yesterday, the seed of Yahweh became flesh, his word, and also literally his word was put inside and became the sperm. It's the same thing. A lot of persons don't catch that the words that we speak impregnate. Yahweh's word, literally, a spoken word was put into Mary through Holy Spirit, right? It manifested itself into the only begotten Son, because he's the only one where he spoke a word, and the word didn't have to come through the phallus of a man, but the word came through the phallic nature of who Yah is. And when his righteousness stood erect in her, something, I'm trying not to be too gross, please forgive me, but I'm just trying to tell you how it works. Like, this is culture, the mindset, right? The word stood erect, and out of that came the Messiah, the only one to be wrapped in word only. As far as the three types of word, this was not the physical seed put in the ground, this is not the physical sperm put into the womb or the garden, but this is the word, which is a seed, right? That literally, if you look at it, not only with the woman this happens, but even Yah will say, because you are evil, it will not rain. Or because you are evil, I will make sure that there is no seed that comes out the ground. He has the ability, because he is our Father, the source, and has the word, the seed, whatever he speaks. Remember, you are living in a single spoken sentence. The universe means a single spoken sentence. You are living in the word, right? And so as long as the word that was spoken on Adam was still being obeyed, he couldn't just get rid of Chava, or just say, okay, you're going to die. Why? Because I have to keep this word. You came out of Adam, and so I'll honor who you come out of. I hope that makes sense, right? That can sound really gross if you have the wrong frame of mind. But I'm just trying to give you cultural context, right? And what these words actually mean, right? The word for word is the word for sperm. The word for word is the word for seed. So when we get the word of Yah and the word became flesh, that makes a lot of sense when you know that all three are the same in the word. There's the fleshly word, there's the natural word, there's the spiritual word. There's a trinity of word, if you will, concerning this word called zara, that we would say avla or Paleo-Hebrew, right? So when this word is spoken, this word is literally wrapped in flesh, right? So Adam was there, Chava, or not even Chava yet, Ayazar, Aisha, helpmeet, woman, wife, that's who she is. Even the Bible in English does not call her Eve yet, because that's her fallen name, right? So you don't have an Eve gene. If you have an Eve gene, you're talking about the gene you have because you're fallen, right? And you might want to deal with that from time to time, but you have an Ayazar gene too. You have a helpmeet gene. You have an Aisha gene. You have a wife gene. He who finds Aisha or Isha, he who finds wife, findeth a taba, a constitutional thing. What is the constitutional thing? A wife is somebody who multiplies. You can sow a seed and it grow 30, 60, and 100-fold, not just only in the physical sense, but I can give a business idea and a wife can grow at 30, 60, and 100-fold. I tell you this, there's nothing like having my wife, Elder Alma, because I know that even if everybody else, if nobody else will support, and I have a lot of great support, don't get it twisted. However, I just know this because I've been here, done this. If nobody else will support, my wife will at least make sure that I stand up and put my shoulders back, because she'll still say you're a genius. She'll still say you're amazing. She'll still say you're magnificent. She'll still say the world needs to hear stuff like that from you because nobody else is saying it. See, with others, right, there's no guarantee that I might get it from everybody else. But no matter what, even if we're beefing, right? Even if there's a chance that we might come into a place where we're beefing on something, still, I know that I can count on my wife to multiply her husband, or there to be a safe place even for me to go, as two become one, to where what's in me can be able to also be multiplied in her. All right? So Ayazar, she has ate of this fruit, but she's still covered. Husbands and wives, don't miss that, right? That's why a husband, not a man, a husband is extremely important. Not just any husband too, a kingdom husband, right? A real man of Yah, a real man of Barashayat is a kingdom husband. He's already got to be pre-qualified even before he walks down the aisle, so to speak. And a kingdom husband covers his wife. Matter of fact, a kingdom brother covers his sisters. Right? A spiritual father covers his daughters, or, right? You see what I'm saying? A kingdom husband is different. And so just because Adam ultimately will not cover who we call Eve, but just because she has a covering at this moment, before he ends up deciding to do the same thing. So you got to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, right? Because Adam has not fallen. He will hear what his wife says, and he will agree and touch and agree with his wife before Yah. Once again, I'm not just talking about only husband, wife. I'm using that as a big deal, right? But I'm trying to get you to see, because there's a lot of persons who are trying to get us to touch and agree with things that are not what Yah's will is for us. And so since it's not Yahweh's will for us, we shouldn't necessarily be touching and agreeing with all these different things. Or if somebody says something, or somebody's trying to get us to maneuver in something, or somebody's trying to get us to see something, right, that we shouldn't see, even if it's our friend, even if it's our mother, our father, our sisters, our brothers, our persons we used to run with, our former fraternity members, our former sorority members, whatever your case might be, you got to realize that, hey, if anybody's going to help us, it's going to be me, because I'm going to stay in position, right? Let Yah sort out the rest. But I'm not moving in position, because just because I have the covering, I have the anointing, anybody under me, they must be protected. And that sounds like a lot. That's walking heavy, and it is a lot. It comes with a lot of responsibility. That's right. That's not my responsibility. And look, I'm talking to my brothers and sisters, so I'm pointing out persons that I know don't mind me using them as an example, right? Dr. T Bruder Charlie, Sister Shirley, whomever, right, might decide that they want to do something that's out of pocket as far as the will of Yah. I'm just using it as an example. They haven't. That being said, even if they do, and they come to me and they say, Kofi, man, let's do this, let's do whatever. I'm not just going to do whatever, because I realize that I'm supposed to be their covering. You hear what I'm saying? And so, if I go and do what they do, then we all out here naked. But if I decide to stay covered by the Most High by being in His will, and I'm covering them, then so be it. Now, if they decide to run completely outside the covering, they'll find out if they're naked. Like, they'll find out eventually. But until they roll out from the area, my responsibility is to say, no, we don't do that. No, I can't just do, I can't change, I can't blah, blah. Like, no, yeah, correction, order, chain of command. Like, no, my responsibility still is da-da-da-da. SOC still doing da-da-da. Hebrew Israelites are supposed to do da-da-da-da. The word of Yah said, and I'm supposed to make sure that I do that, and so that they have an opportunity in covering to go ahead and come back and not have to be out here naked or realize how naked they really are. Because my covering really isn't even enough. It's Yah's covering really over me that allows an extension of that covering to be over there, if that makes sense. Finally able to see and hear and comment. Yeah, it's been a wild start to the day. How you doing, Sister Nat? How you doing, Minister Tracy? So you see what I'm saying, right? And I have covering too, and if I'm out of pocket, right? So I'm just trying to give an example. We have to make sure that we're covered. And that's why we were talking about the other day, whether it was yesterday or it was Saturday, you got to make sure whoever your covering is on point. And then once you're there, though, right, make sure you stay covered. We said the other day, Sarah called Abraham Lord. Why did Sarah call Abraham Lord? Not just because. She called him Lord because he was a Lord. Look at how many persons were under him. Look at how much land he had. Look at how much cattle, sheep, oxen, goat. Look at how much he was a Lord. So she called him what he was and didn't mind multiplying it. When they were in time together, though, she wasn't saying Lord this, Lord that. She was saying Abram, or Abraham. But when he's in front of others, she says, yeah, this is your position. I don't mind calling you who you be. Right? She said, I'm covered by this. How you doing, Sister Taylor? I'm covered by this. And so since I'm covered by this, I'm going to be obedient to what the covering is. Yeah, she respected him. She respected his authority. And it wasn't just that he was Lord, but he was Lord according to Yah, which means that he was a Lord under the Lord. And so if he's Lord, the only reason he's Lord is because Yah allowed it. So she understood by respecting his authority that she respected Yah's authority. You see that? I'm talking kingdom husband. You hear me saying Yah, right? You hear me saying we got to be obedient. How you doing, Sister Sabrina? And I get that there's a lot of persons too who have a tough time with what I'm talking about because maybe your husband ain't acting like a Lord, let alone Lord of Yah's, what Yah's giving him. I get that, right? This is why a lot of the stuff we deal with, we don't talk about stuff from the beginning. A lot of issues that persons have in their marriage are because we didn't set up things from the beginning. So we're doing a lot of trying to catch up, and a lot of persons don't want to go ahead and keep things up, and a lot of persons don't want somebody to tell them, hey, even you could be the greatest man, you could be the greatest woman, you could proclaim yourself to be the greatest husband and the greatest wife, you could think that you had this stuff down culturally or not, but you're supposed to make sure that you line up with certain principles. Because if not, we're going to have problems when we skip steps. And that's what we've been doing for centuries, for millennia now. But we've gotten away from the truth and righteousness and forgotten what our way is, because it's not even our way, it's Yah's way. Matter of fact, it's not even the way that's important, it's the path. Because Yah doesn't direct paths, or ways, he directs paths. You remember? Trust in Yahweh with all thine love and lean not to your own understanding in all your ways, acknowledge him. Whatever way you're going, see, is this where you want me to go? This where you want me to go? This where you want me to go? And then once he says, this is where I am, he'll direct that path. What happened is a lot of persons just wanted any way and said, you know what, this is the way I'm going to get to marriage. And then all of a sudden you're not on the path that Yah had for your husband and you, or for your wife and you, or for your children and you. and you're constantly playing catch up. Now, it doesn't mean that you still can't be covered, but a lot of persons still remain uncovered. But you got to acknowledge him in all your ways so that you can know which path he's going to direct you down. Just because you see him in all ways doesn't mean he wants you to walk all paths. Come on, somebody. Right? You hear what I'm saying? Just because you see him in all ways, how you doing, Sister Tia, doesn't mean that he wants you to walk in all paths. He wants to direct your path. Your path is the way that you walk in. The way is the direction. In all directions, acknowledge him, but in path is what he's going to direct. There's many ways. That's why you got to acknowledge him in all the ways. Okay, I acknowledge, to knowledge, know, to know, right? To know, to be intimate with. Am I intimate with him in all ways? Am I trying to make sure, if I don't see you here, y'all, I'm not trying to go down that path. If I don't see, okay, I know this way, I know what they're doing, I have to acknowledge you. I'm not intimate. You wouldn't have me do that. The word says you wouldn't have me do that. You know, it's real dangerous. Like cats be talking about, and I'm not trying to say you shouldn't do it, but you should be led. Right? You should be led. So hear what I'm about to say, beloved. I'm not saying you can't do this, but you should be led. So this is one of the reasons I have a problem with sometimes when I hear that person say, they'll say stuff like, oh yeah, we're going to the club, outside the club, or even in the club, but outside the club normally, right? Because you can't do it in it, or else you get kicked out. So we're going to be outside the club, or we're going to even be outside the strip club, and we're going to give flyers to everybody so that they can come to church. And first thing I'm like, will the Holy Spirit tell you to do that? Right? It's nice. It's a righteous intent, but is it righteous? Were you direct? See, you have to ask yourself, did y'all tell you to go that way? I know you're in the way, so acknowledge him in all your ways. Hey, did y'all tell you to go that way? If he did, fine. But I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of persons that you listen to their testimonies, and listen to what y'all did, and even hear some of the stuff that happens to them in those places. And a lot of persons are like, no, and they probably weren't directed. I'm not saying, once again, that's why I'm saying you have to be in tune with Holy Spirit. That's why I'm saying you have to make sure you're doing what you called to do. If Holy Spirit, if she tells you to do that, if Yah's told you to do that, if your Hushfai has told you to do that, etc., please do what they say. But if you haven't been told to do that, you have no business being there. This is when you can get whooped up on, right? It's like the man who saw Paul could speak devils out of persons and tried, because he had control over the area, and he wanted to go ahead and do the same thing, and so he had lost control. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to say in the name of Paul's Elohim, in the name of Paul's Adon, I'm going to go ahead and try to cast a demon out too. And the demon turned around and he said, well, Yehoshua, I know, I'm intimate with him. And he said, and Paul, I know, I'm intimate with him. So had they, in other words, had they, because I know them, even the enemy knows, right? So the enemy is like, I'm intimate enough with them to where if they had told me to get out, I would have got out. But he was like, I don't know you to know Yah. Did you catch that? Right? Even the enemy, the demon, said that there's some of y'all where I know Yah better than you, because I know Yah enough, because I'm a fallen angel. If you're a demon, right? A fallen angel. So fallen angels are like, I know Yah. I made a decision to be against Yah, and therefore now I have to be on the side of the devil. However, don't get it twisted. I know Yah, and I know him enough to know what's going on, and I know those who are true and righteous. And he says, so Paul, I know him, because I know him enough. I know his life enough. I've studied him. I've tried to make his life miserable. I can't touch him. There's a hedge of protection around him. So I know him. And I know his Lord, because I know his Lord is the one that put the hedge of protection around him. But you, I don't see no hedge. I don't see chit around you. And he commenced whooping his tail to the point where he beat him out his clothes. Had him looking like that dude in the store that tried to fight the baby, right? Had him out there looking crazy, right? So the covering is necessary, beloved. And there's a lot of things we confuse for covering, and we confuse for chain of command. Okay, so back to Barashayat. Back to Genesis chapter 3. Back to Barashayat. Back to Genesis chapter 3. Here's the thing that really got me when I was studying this, in verse 6. When I saw this right here, it says, and when the woman saw that the tree was to bow for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. That's a 3-hitter quitter. She saw. Now remember, the devil came and actually misrepresented the word in the beginning of this, in verse 1, I believe. Then right after that, the devil said, she says, no, this is what the word says. She says it correctly. Then the devil comes behind that and says, no, are you sure? You won't surely die. Then he questioned. So he saw first, hey, do you know the word? She passed the test. She knew the word. Then he goes, okay, well, let's see, because what is it that's really there? The only thing that's preventing you, or so you think, that because Yah won't allow you to do something, it must be something that actually is beneficial for you. Can I steer her on that? He says, no, you won't surely die, because that's the only thing that she's dealing with, or that even is a consequence for her, is death. She got a perfect husband. She has a perfect garden, or a perfect home. She has perfect food. She has a perfect body, right? If you notice, they don't even have to talk about her beauty, because why do you need beauty standards when you're perfect? See, sisters, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven also is perfect. Don't worry about everybody's standard. See, when you're perfect, you don't need beauty standards, because your being is the standard. There's only one standard, and you were created, right? You know, sisters, the tulip, and brothers, catch this too, because we be competitive against each other like this too. Here it is, right? The tulip is not in competition with the orchard. The orchard is not in competition with the pine. The pine is not in competition with the rose. The rose is not in competition with the grape. Because everything, hear me, beloved, everything that's created is created for its purpose, and therefore is beautiful. There's something that you look at and you think is disgusting or gross, that Yah looks at as beautiful because it serves a purpose. There are rocks that you like and rocks you don't like, but Yah made all of them. So it doesn't even discuss who we now call Eve. It doesn't even discuss our mother talking about beauty standards. Why? Beauty standards is something when man had to start comparing. When she all of a sudden realized that there was nakedness. When she fell into sin, right? All of a sudden you had to see people fighting against each other. Now, I'm not saying that her husband never told her she was beautiful. We know that her husband was outright attracted to her, right? This is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. What I'm saying, though, is that you don't even hear that kind of mantra that we are dealing with so much, because she's original. When you go back to your origin, ain't nothing like your origin. Ain't nothing like your origin. Brothers, ain't nothing like you being who you're supposed to be. Ain't nothing like you being who you're supposed to be and being confident and competent at the same time. Being consistent in that confidence and competence takes it to a whole nother level. But when you are who Yah has created you to be, ain't nothing like it. But here's a 3-hitter quitter that we see our mother deal with. It says that she went, and in this conversation, she went from not even wanting to touch the tree, not wanting to touch the fruit, not wanting to eat the fruit, to where now that the devil has put doubt in her mind about the consequence attached to her action. Hello, Brother Frank, you can ask a question whenever. How you doing? Right? Now, because of this thing has been introduced, she saw that, now it went for the fact that she saw, now remember, the Bible says that all the trees, including this tree, all the trees were desirable. but she wasn't going to eat of it. But now that the devil's had a conversation with her, watch this little twist. All of a sudden, the thing she wouldn't even touch, this is what it becomes. Number one, she thought that now, oh, it's to buy for food. I can eat this thing. You were just saying before this conversation, you shouldn't touch it. Now you're talking about eating it. Number one. Number two, it says she saw that it was pleasant to the eyes. Now it looks different. Even though it was always pleasant to the eye, but now she wants it because somebody changed the consequence. See, when there's no consequence, watch this. If we're out and we're foraging, and you don't know if something's poisonous, you're probably not going to eat it, right? You shouldn't. But when you find out something's poisonous, you don't eat it. But what if somebody comes behind you and says, oh, no, that's not poisonous, you can eat that. They're just telling you that because they don't want you to be healthy. It changes the way you look at it. Even if you decide you're not going to eat it, it still changes the way that we look at it. It's saying a mantra, casting a spell. It depends on the mantra. If we're saying mantra, I'm assuming we're talking about a mantra as far as being repetitive. It depends on what the mantra is. Right? Like repeating stuff just for the sake of repeating it, you got to be careful with that, because even pagans do that according to the Bible, right? Pagans repeat things just for the sake of repeating them, you know. For example, when you hear somebody say, you know, we come before you, Lord, right now, Lord, thanking you, Lord, that you, Lord, are going to be able, Lord, to help us, Lord. And Yehoshua says that, you know, even pagans do that. So even if it's not a spell, he's like, you're not really actually communicating, because what would it look like? I'm coming to my wife and I'm talking to her and I say, you know, I come to you, Alma, right now, Alma, asking you, Alma, if you would be able, Alma, to make sure, Alma, that you go ahead, Alma, and do this for me, Alma, so that, Alma, it would help. It doesn't make sense, right? But it's something that we hear others do in other cultures. We brought that stuff in, and we think that actually makes us more powerful in prayer. So repeating something over and over again doesn't even necessarily mean it's a mantra. It depends on what it is. Also, too, repeating something over and over again, even if it's not a spell, doesn't mean that it necessarily is something that's righteous, right? So it just depends on what you repeat, in short answer. But back to Revelation 3:6. So it says that she saw that the food was to eat all of a sudden. It was pleasant to her eyes. And then it says, number 3, the tree was desired to make one wise. Now I'm going to do this is kind of an entendre, and I'm going to speak in entendres a little bit, right? And I'm not saying you guys can't handle entendres, just saying if the entendre is a little difficult or whatever to catch, or I'm doing too much with it or whatever, let me know. But I think this is something that we'll all get with kingdom sense. I'm not talking persons with common sense, right? You're not commoners, we're going to talk common sense. She wanted to be wise and didn't realize in order to be wise in her own eyes, she had to step outside of wisdom or wise dominion. She already was in wisdom. Was she not? She's in the Garden of Eden. You already are in the wise dominion. You see, she's already set up. She's under the wisest being ever, that ever will be, ever was. Before Earth was created, he was wise, right? Before the sun, the moon, the stars were created, he was wise. You're in wise down, but now the fruit has changed, because what is it that the devil is trying to get her to break on? He's trying to get her to believe that that wisdom is not enough. She needs to be wise in her own eyes. Right? Wisdom is not enough. That's a bar, by the way, because a lot of persons that you know deal with that quite often. If we be honest, a lot of us are dealing with that now. One of the hardest things I know, somebody would tell you they don't have any heart. Okay, cool, right? For a lot of persons I know, I can't say for everybody, right? We're not all the same. We're not a monolith. That being said, a lot of persons that I know, especially when preaching, teaching, etc., one of the biggest hurdles there is that you want to make sure and check yourself all the time so that you're staying in wise dominion, wise wisdom, rather than trying to be wise in your own eyes. Because it's real easy when you know a few things that somebody else doesn't know. It's real easy to use it to try and lord over them or shape things the way you want. It's you can be tempted, right? I'm here to tell you, right? Being a shepherd over sheep, especially when they're true sheep. You got some sheep that are still transitioning. They're still being molded, right? But when you have true sheep who are not goats, but true sheep, right? True sheep need a shepherd. They love the shepherd. And sheep sometimes too can try to headbutt you and stuff like that, but they actually need a shepherd. And it's real easy when somebody who's in need of leadership, it's real easy. You could easily do some damage. Real talk. That's right. That's why we're supposed to have pastors and shepherds after Yahweh's own heart. And he said, I'll send you those. But true shepherd, I'm here to tell you, a lot of persons are wise in their own eyes. And and this is something that is a demonic thing, but is usually attached to conversations that, once again, we don't know how to defend the word. And here's Ayazar in the midst of a conversation with Chasatan, and you're seeing this conversation where he's manipulating the word. She shuts it down. Then he says, no, well, now let me deal with the consequence. See, a lot of us are okay when somebody says the word. We can say, oh no, the word says this, the word says this, the word says this, shut it down. But then when somebody says, well, your consequences are off, that's not really a consequence. This is why somebody can read the Bible, literally tell you to follow the law. And then somebody says, no, the consequence, you don't have to follow the law. You can do whatever you want. Right? They'll tell you what the word says, but will deny the consequence. You hear what I'm saying? They'll tell you exactly the scripture, but don't want the consequence, because now we don't want not just the accountability. We like to use that phrase, and that's a word, and that's great wording to use. It's not simply accountability that persons are. They don't want the consequence. And they know that if they're accountable to the word that they quote, then it means that they receive the consequences, positive and negative. But by not taking ownership over the word that they know, they think that they don't have to know the consequences. Salah. How you doing, Sister Shima? You hear what I'm saying? There's somebody out there who will not follow the word they can quote, because if they follow the word, or if they say this word is true, 100% true, not the parts that you like, but 100% true, if I follow it to the letter, or if I follow it to the character, or follow it by character, that means I have to be held accountable in my character, right? My character. I have to be held accountable as far as my character. So persons don't want to go character by character with these words. Remember, these words are not spelled because we're not witches. These words in their origin have character. Even the words even the letters you're using now, they're just characters, right? You have to recognize, like, the letter A is a character, the letter B is a character, the number 1 is a character, the number 0 is a character. Okay? And all of these characters have meaning. And persons don't want to come through that. So the character of the word, just because somebody knows it doesn't mean they want to live by it. And so here's the real issue that's going on, is that so-called Eve is living by the character. She knows the word. The devil says, why live by that character if death isn't really a real thing. It's kind of like this. You ever heard somebody go, I know you guys have, but just roll with me for a second. You know how cats will hit you with something? I've never seen this, so therefore it doesn't exist. Kind of like if a tree falls in the woods, and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Yes, it makes a sound. But you go, well, I haven't heard it, so it can't make a sound. No, it makes a sound, and the sound matters to those who heard it. There's animals that heard it. There's other trees that felt the vibration. Therefore, you can say they heard it. There's a lot of different things that heard it. But just because you were not there to hear it doesn't mean that it's not real. But they do the same thing with the word. Well, I haven't seen this and that, or I haven't seen that Yah is real. I don't know anything about a higher power. What's something that makes you believe, blah, blah, whatever, because they say in their reality. Remember, reality doesn't mean it's real. It just means the prism, what they look through to define what they say is real. That's what reality means. So they'll say, in my reality, it hasn't happened. It doesn't work. I don't agree with that. But just because you haven't seen it, just because the tree has fallen and you weren't there to witness it, right? Trigger warning, right? I haven't been in Kentucky and I haven't been in North Carolina in the past few months. But it doesn't mean that just because I haven't been there and I haven't even seen on the news some of the stuff that they talk about, doesn't mean that there's not somebody there right now, like a Minister Morel with this company or somebody who's putting in work to help families. Because it's a very real situation. Just because it's not real to you. Somebody go, well, SOC doesn't help anybody until you give me money, until you give me this. No, we have a long track record of making sure the families are taken care of. Just because you haven't seen it. You see what I'm saying? Pastor Kofi doesn't do nothing in the community. And then you go and you look at videos that are been posted for years, and you'll see persons that'll say, from the cities I'm in. And they'll be like, it's funny, y'all keep saying Pastor Kofi doesn't do anything here. And whenever you see his videos, he's always in the community. Right? So you have to recognize, right? But the devil's coming to try and tell you that something that you haven't, just because you haven't seen it means that the consequence is not real. We say this all the time, right? I say it to my child all the time. Hey, I don't want you don't have to experience stuff just to know if it's real or not. Like, you can trust me, son. Don't do da 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 da, because there's consequences. Like, I know what it is to be disobedient. There's consequences. I know what it is to be on the street. There's consequences. I know what it is to not learn about finances. There's consequences. I know what it is to not make sure that I'm educated. There's consequences. I know what it is to get to this age and realize like your body is jacked up. There's consequences. Right? And so we have responsibility. That's why when persons come to me and they say, Pastor Kofi, I'm having a tough time, blah, blah. And I sit there and I say, yes, you are. Amen. But then after a while, I'm also going to start saying, hey, what are we going to do as far as works? And somebody say, works, I'm not ready. And I get that, but and to each their own. I'm not saying I'm always 100% right. That being said, you'll hear me say, well, what are we going to start doing? Or when are we going to start coming out of it? Because I also know what it is to just stop doing everything because I'm going through something. I know that I got to work this thing and be greater, and right, I can't just stay in the same situation expecting a different result. No matter how bad it's been, I know I've got to work. I've got to get to the works. I've got to do what the word says. I know what I'm called to do. I know what I would do for free, and I did it for many years for free. And now the person's willing to bless me with something. Why would I let you all down? I won't give the exact. Matter of fact, I'll use SOC as an example. A lot of persons don't comprehend and understand. You ever been somebody who's been blessed because of work you put in over years, and so you automatically get positions or get contracts or get hired at these jobs and these gigs and stuff, and persons are like, well, how come I can't get in there? Get me in there and get me in there. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get you to this, but I don't know if I have the authority to get blah blah. And they get mad and they get upset and they get frustrated, and it's like they try to follow you. Or they're like, why won't you just let me be where you are? And I'm like, well, the reason I got where I am is because there's years, decades of, like my life is dedicated to certain, I was thinking the other day, how long it's been since I've been out of the military. And I was like, I've been out of I didn't even think about it. I've been out of the military at this point longer than it was before I went in the military. Right. Right. And I was just saying to myself, like, that's a long time to be, out. But yeah, I've been out of the military now longer than it was before I went in. And I was like, there's things that I've gotten out of it and things that I determined. And I was just thinking about how long I've been doing certain things, even just using the military as like a indicator or a barometer or a memorial even, or a landmark, I guess is the best one, using it as a landmark on my travel of this timeline called life. And I was like, yeah, I haven't been in that in a minute. And there's things that I was doing before then, and there's preaching and teaching I was doing before then, and there's studying I was doing before then. So somebody comes and they'll be 70, 80 years old, and by the way, they're still my elders, that's mad respect, but somebody will come and be like, yo, how do you know so much about this and blah, blah. And I'm like, to be honest, I've been putting in work. I realized, like, I've been putting in work. And even when it wasn't in where I am now as being a follower of the way, I've been putting in work. And somebody will come and be like, you got to do, and it doesn't make sense for me to just, I don't think persons even realize that they want to go through all of the one of the things that stands out to me, with SOC. Could you, I don't think you guys comprehend this. I put in all this work, all this effort, all this energy, right? And a lot of you, many of you have been with us now, multiple years. Some of you might go back before you were heavy on social media, but many of you are connected with us through social media, and and of course personally as well now too. We've met up, we've talked with a lot of you and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, many of you are, came into connection with this through social media, right? And for years now, you guys have supported me, even now, supported me when a lot of persons are like, who cares? He don't got no numbers, no views, blah, blah. But we built something that's more substantial than many of these persons who get all these views and all this stuff or whatever, right? And we're still building. We're not finished. But I say all that to say, I can't let y'all down. Right? Like imagine like all the stuff you put into me and all the stuff that you did. And I don't think the persons get, like, in my head, you guys, we all built this. This isn't just, first of all, y'all built it through us, and he built it through me. But this isn't just Kofi built this. This is just Kofi and Amma built this. This isn't just Kofi, Amma, Solomon, etc. This is, we built this. We sowed into this. Like, we've cried tears together over this stuff. We've traveled different places over this stuff. We've taken care of persons' residence situations together. We've have set it up where persons can actually be community and touch, contact each other, touch each other, hug each other, things like that. And so I feel like not just a kinship, but I feel like I owe y'all. And I don't think it's a bad statement to make. Some persons will say, you don't have to owe anybody. No. Like, to a certain degree, I owe those who sowed. I would never, so it's weird, that somebody would come through and not realize that, hey, it took work and effort and energy for us to get this here. And so I would never come to anybody else, or I would never think somebody would just go, I'm not the type of person to go to somebody and be like, yo, just give me work or give me a job or give me blah, blah, make it the same as you. Like, no, like, if you give me something, I'm gonna work with what you give me. And I know that it took you a long time. And even if sometimes you might say, no, I'm not gonna give you whatever, it might not be because you're mean. It might simply be because you know that if you were to put me in a position like that without me having gone through certain years of whatever, I will probably fail. Now, I say all that to say this. Aisha, womb man, our mother, so-called Eve, you knew that you were in wise dominion with the creator of heaven and earth. And the devil is trying to tell you there's a shortcut to eternity. You hear what I'm saying? Like, you knew the one who was the all-wise, the all-knowing being. And here it is that you decided that you're going to, Here it is that you decided that you were going to try and shortcut your way into his wise dominion. When, by the way, you already live inside of his wise dominion. You hear what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I missed whatever Dylan had said. But welcome, Dylan. Sorry for missing what you said. But you see what I'm saying? Or even like some things come, somebody even put prayer and fasting for Dylan. There's some things that come with prayer and fasting. Yahashua said there's some things that you're not going to be able to even remove without time. And yet, right, this fruit, what it represented to her is not only, hey, it's something I can eat, okay? Not only is it's something that looks great, but also it can give me a shortcut to something that takes eternity. It takes an eternal being, at least, covering and protecting me. If I step outside of their covering, I'm going to be what they are. Are you with me, beloved? Right? There's a lot of persons that believe if I step outside of Yah's covering, if I step out of the covering of my mama, if I step out of the covering of my daddy, if I step out of the covering of my apostle, of my presiding prelate, of my pastor, whatever. Now, once again, we're talking about kingdom. I'm not talking about random. I'm not talking about anybody. We're talking about kingdom, true kingdom, right? That's why you have to know the laws greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. There's a bunch of scribes and Pharisees out here trying to tell you and I why they're, they're that they are qualified. You have to know the law enough to even tell if they're righteous or not. That being said, if you have a kingdom covering, stay covered. If you have a kingdom covering, beloved, stay covered. You said he was seeking help with a hex that he said was put on him. Okay, well, if Dylan is still on, I think he might have came on the other day too. I wasn't able to get back to him, or I just forgot, to be honest, which is really bad. But just if you're still on, Dylan, feel free to reach out. You can call, connect. Well, no, I didn't forget. To be honest, Holy Spirit, told me to refrain and to talk to you. That's what it was. Because I believe you were on. I don't know if it was yesterday or Saturday. I know you were on before, right? So, and turning the sixes upside down, isn't doing any favors either. So I'll put that there. You know what that means. But yeah, you have to realize that. Oh, sorry, test can't be passed without proper knowledge. So you have to realize and recognize a lot of persons are trying to do things uncovered, and things will be presented to you that say, hey, I can do this outside of the will of Yah. I can actually eat the thing or touch the thing that Yah said not to eat or to touch. I can actually be outside of the covering that's actually under the covering. Be careful. This is what the devil really did. The devil tried to get her on word. She was silent in the word. So then the devil dealt with the consequence, because the only reason many of us stay under covering, which is not a bad reason, by the way, is because we don't want to deal with consequences. But if we feel like we can do something without consequence, then we go ahead and leave. And a lot of us find out. This is why we have a lot of so-called church hoppers or whatever, right? A lot of persons that literally go from assembly to assembly to assembly, or belief to belief to belief, or relationship to relationship to relationship, because you keep thinking that, hey, I need to be able to do this without covering. See, if you thought of your relationships like that, any relationship, not just your husband, not just your wife, your friends, your work relationships, etc., anything that you go into should be thought through the process of, how is this my covering? Can this cover me? I'm on. Thank you, double OG, triple OG. I ain't doing Miss 90 days, right? Like double OG, triple OG is correct that we got to preach that word and see, like, the covering. And by the way, if you're a leader, then once again, kingdom leaders, I had to learn to not be afraid of covering persons. I told you before I was on it. Well, this is a long time. I don't know how many of you heard the story, but long story short, there's a guy on a train, hadn't seen him since high school, and he was possessed. And I knew that what was in him couldn't deal with him, because he kept threatening me. And he even kind of sort of like would walk towards me, but there was only so much he could go. And then after a while, I realized I didn't even like he was mad. There was something in him. He kept saying, "You don't recognize me. You don't recognize me. You don't recognize me." And in my spirit, I was talking. I was like, I recognize the demon, but then I was like, oh, this is somebody from high school. It was this dude that used to be like way up here, and he was on something, right? And when you be on some of those recreational things, they can be portals to other things, and so he was clearly like not himself, but a piece of him reached out, and then he even said to me, he goes, I think I'm supposed to follow you, which is scary when you're not really realizing like this is what you might have to deal with. Like I'm dealing with a demon in this moment, but I'm also dealing with somebody who really wouldn't have looked at me as a friend or anything. He looked down upon me, and I kind of, we were frustrated with each other, but we didn't care about. We never fought or nothing, but we played basketball. That was about the most we did with each other, and he was always up here in the classes in school, and I was always down here. But I was dealing with somebody that ultimately was trying to reach out on some kind of whatever friendship might have been there to say like, hey, help me. I gave my information and stuff, and I never really saw him. I think I saw him a couple times after that, but I never really saw him again. So I pray that he's well. He wasn't looking too well last time I saw him. I pray that he's well, but I say that to say like I realize like it's scary, and then persons will come like, oh, I'll need to be under you or under your teaching or under the authority that you've been given, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of times we're scared off by that. We run away from stuff like that, right? But the covering matters, and that's one of the things that I talk about all the time. I talk about it with my wife. I talk about it with a lot of leadership. I'm very aware that there's a lot of persons who who we cover, and a lot of them trust us. Some of them I feel like sometimes trust us too much. I've had persons be like, hey, can you open up an account for us in cryptocurrency, and you just open it up and I'll give you the money and you just give me money that comes out, blah blah, because they don't know how to do it. I'm like, no, we need to teach you. Because I did it once for somebody, and exactly what I said was going to happen happened, which was I'm going to lose track of it, I'm going to get busy, something's going to get confused, this and that, and I ended up just giving them money out of my pocket and being like, please open up an account, right? But I'm just saying some persons trust us too much, right? And so I have to be very careful, and that's why I'm highly repetitive and saying over and over and over again, like, hey, we need to make sure do it like this, do it like this, do it like that. Here's the classes, here's the times, here's the sessions, here's the women's meeting, here's the men's meeting, here's the books, here's Patreon, here's the whatever. Even when we build up stuff to help persons in the community, here's the 5 to 10, here's the stuff for the land. Hey, the land stuff is not finished yet. Just because we have it doesn't mean that we're ready to cultivate. It would be easier, it'd be faster. We might not even get that much done if we don't get this machinery at some point. If you guys want to live on the land in the next 5 to 10 years, this is what we're gonna have to do. Da, da, da. Like we put those things in place, and we put those things in order, and we're consistent with them. Even saying, hey, call each other, do this stuff, but we're saying all those things, but I'm putting that stuff out because I also recognize the covering. Now I put that with what we were talking about yesterday out of Exodus chapter 18, and Jethro talking to Moses, and us coming to a place of where we realize and we recognize that, like, yeah, we've got to put stuff in position, but I put persons in positions who we trust and who Yah tells me to trust as well. I got to have agreement with Yah, right? So yeah, and we trust you in positions, and you got to be ready to move. But a lot of times we don't trust the covering, or we don't have faith in covering, or all it takes is somebody telling us that that being uncovered is inconsequential. And as soon as you fall into that, even if the doubt falls into it, the very thing that you wouldn't eat or touch becomes a thing that becomes what? Something that you find pleasant to eat, something you find pleasant to look at, and something that you think will cause you to be wise. But you will not be in wise dom or wise dominion. You will only be wise in your own eyes. How you doing, Brother Craig? Praise God. Right? You'll only be wise in your own eyes. Many persons are only going to be wise in their own eyes. Excuse me. Real talk. A lot of us are only going to be wise. A lot of human beings, let's say it like that. A lot of human beings will only be wise in their own eyes because they keep trying to come out of the covering. You have to ask yourself, like I've even realized sometimes too, like I'm not really big on you got to report to me for everything that you do, but I've started to learn like, hey, the persons will run with stuff because they don't even think, should I come and talk to Pastor Kofi first? before doing something about blah blah whatever. That's happened plenty of times in decades of doing this, where somebody will come and do something in your name. Now I know it's not my name per se, but you get what I'm saying, or I get what Yahashua means and carrying the cross. You're going to deal with stuff like that, where somebody will do something in your name, and they'll do it outside of the covering. And you right, and you have to be ready for stuff like that. Somebody will do something in your name, and your family, your child will do something and be like, oh yeah, and try and think that I don't need mama's covering or daddy's covering, right? You got to start realizing and setting it up and being repetitive and setting up an environment and making it a safe place for them to stay inside the covering. Some persons don't stay inside covering because they think that it's better to be uncovered because they don't feel safe where they are. Set up a place to where persons feel safe to move in their calling, in their culture, in their language, right? And it'll help them to develop a mind and help them to become greater and help them to say, okay, I'll do these things, right? Like set up a place, watch this, set up a place to where the kingdom comes first. I know somebody's like, we getting on this out of Genesis 3:6? Absolutely. Absolutely, right? Look, set up a place where the kingdom comes first. Somebody says, well, duh, the kingdom comes first. Okay, watch this. Does the kingdom always come first in your life? No, it always comes first. Okay, okay. Question. Um, if it's time for you to go on a girls' trip, will you make time to go on a girls' trip? I mean, definitely, that's the girls. Okay. When it's time for you to make sure that you celebrate your child's born day, do you celebrate it? Of course, that's my child, by the way. I ain't mad at it. I'm just saying, right? Okay. When it's time for you, even though you don't even believe in Thanksgiving, Christmas like that, you still go and you still hang out with the family because, hey, at least you get to see them, right? Yeah, of course. That's family. And even though I tell them I don't even eat the food, but at least I'm going to go by and say hi to Granny and stuff like that. Who knows? That's I'm going to say, okay. Well, now, when it's time for SOC and somebody that's in your city, right? We got New Yorkers in here. Somebody in your city. We got Jerseyites up in this piece, right? We got cats in Philly, right? We got cats in Pennsylvania. We got cats in Massachusetts. We got cats in New York in general, all over the place, all over the state. I know it's bigger than just New York, and we've had it for years. We got cats in Chi-Town. We got cats in H-Town, Dallas, Fort Worth. We got cats in New Orleans. We got cats in Atlanta. We got cats in Southern Georgia. We got cats in Alabama. We got cat. We all over the place. We got cats, that ain't too far from each other. Vegas, L.A., San Fran, Oregon, to where at least once in a while something might be able to take place. Question: when it's time to move as a community and when it's time to move as a kingdom, does y'all come first? Your children be watching stuff like that. You know. You see, so what I'm saying is set up a safe place. Like, do you make sure that no matter what, we're gonna do these holy days? I'm not even saying you got to show up in person, but no matter what, these holy days come first. We're about to start removing the leaven from my home. I believe it's February the 2nd. No, no, no. I'm sorry, March the 2nd. Excuse me. Which will be here before you know it. You got this Saturday, and then which is women's meeting. Next Saturday is March 1st. So some of you, really you can start March 2nd at 6 p.m. But some of you, if you want to start March 1st, whatever. But hey, removing the leaven is about to be here. You're about to start getting some messages and us making sure that we're doing things to remove the leaven from our home. Right? Like some of this, like it becomes a lifestyle. And when you do it every day, all day, without stopping, right? Making sure the progress is always happening. Like, yeah, I might have a shortcoming or a fall, but I'm gonna fall forward. I'm gonna pick myself up. I'm gonna dust myself off. I'm gonna put on, wipe it clean. I'm put on my alcohol, even if it hurts. Whatever I got to do, and I'm gonna make sure that I keep pushing. Right? That's how you build nations. That's how you build communities. See, we have the extra steps we have to put in because really, we should have just been living next door to each other. It's easier to build like that than everybody's just one together, right? Even in black churches, used to be that the black church was the hub, That's one of the reasons why it was so powerful. Even if they were off on some of the teaching, the black church was powerful and they got more stuff done. They got more things happening. Even if things were segregated, education was going on, and they were actually being better educated because they were learning about things that they wouldn't have gotten in somebody else's system because they were learning about themselves. Mm-hmm. They were learning about themselves. How you doing, Brother TJ? So we have to get to a place to where we recognize this. See, Ayazar, she was tricked into having a conversation about consequences. But if the word is true, the consequences are the consequences. I don't have to argue whether the consequence is real when I know that the word is real. The zarat, the seed, like we talked about earlier today. I don't argue the consequence being real because I know that the word is real. If the word is true, the word is true. What else we got to argue about? What else you need to fight me on? Is the word true? Real talk. Is the word true? I don't need to go no deeper than that. Is the word true? If the word is true, then every consequence in the word is true. What are we arguing about? You feel me? You know? What is the argument about? How you doing, Rock Lot? What else do we need to talk about? The word is true. Did Yahweh make the garden that you live in? So why are you arguing about the tree that he put in the midst? Did Yahweh make the other tree that's a tree of life that you could eat and see what that does before you see about the other one? So why we need to talk about the consequence? Because if there's a positive consequence in the tree of life and a negative consequence in the tree of knowledge of good and evil, why not see, if you want to see if it's real, forget talking to the Satan and those who would try to get you on some foolishness. How about have a conversation with Yah's word, his seed, his fruit, literally eat the tree of life and see if it actually brings life. If it brings life, then you know that if that brings life, and if you know that all the other trees bring sustenance, and if you know that all the animals work for you, and if you know that the water that spritz up from the ground helps, and that you don't even have to till the ground because of the animals and the insects and things of that nature, and if you know that he made the aquia and everything that's in it, then if you eat of the tree of life on top of that for more proof, why do you need to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil? See, you can be so, if when you forget the consequences are real and you forget how real Yah's word is, you'll deny the tree of life. You'll deny the tree of eternal life. Listen, there is none. I need it just because go into defense mode ASAP. Amen. Right? We'll deny the tree of life. The tree of life. We'll deny the seed. You know, the tree of life, right? And if it produces fruit, that means the fruit gives seed. It gives word. You'll deny something that gives you eternal word because you'll argue about whether consequences are real. Although the one that you're arguing about is the one that created you. Okay, Holy Spirit said we milked everything out of that line precept by precept. All right, so Genesis chapter 3 verse 6. And when the woman saw what? And when she saw that all of a sudden, by the way, last point. I was supposed to say this. I skipped over it. Excuse me. When you look at it, it says that she saw it was pleasant to the eye, or it's pleasant for her to eat, pleasant to the eye, and then it was also something that she thought would make her wise to come outside the covering. And then she ate it, and then she gave it to her husband, and he did eat. When you see that happen, that sounds like the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Man, I might be able to eat this lust of the flesh. Right? It looks desirable, the lust of the eyes. And man, if I do eat this, you know what? There's no consequence. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make up whatever consequence I want and whatever the devil says. So guess what? If I out here by myself, I can be just as wise as the Most High. I can call myself God and all this stuff too. That's the pride of life. When you're so proud that you think that you're wise, more wise than the Most High. Because really, you can't just be as wise here. You got to be more wise because you're thinking that what the Most High has told you is a lie or isn't true. Or maybe the Most High doesn't know. what he made. Right? Okay. Verse 7. And the eyes of them, as soon as they ate it, immediately. Some versions say immediately, but as soon as they ate it. Verse 7. And the eyes of both of them were opened. Open to what? I'm going to read this verse. I want you to think about that. Open to what? And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew they naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Their eyes were open. Open to what? Thank y'all for the love. How you doing? How you doing, Select Tamara? Their eyes were open. Open to what? Exposed to be not under the covering anymore. Yeah. You wanted this. That's it. In essence, I wasn't using another word, but that's basically it. You wanted this. You got it. Eyes open. And for the first time, they realized that they were naked. You were naked the whole time, but you were covered. Now, this ain't on some robot stuff. This ain't on some culture stuff, but this is on some stuff you need to know and need to recognize. There's certain things, beloved, that when you cover, you're not even supposed to see. They were so covered by Yah. What is evil? What is that? What is naked? What is that? It's not that you weren't naked, but what does that even mean? I'm so covered that I don't even have, watch this. Adam had love for his wife, not lust for his wife. Adam saw her and was like, yo, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Any son that comes out of me must leave us and go and cleave to his wife, because that's what I'm fitting to do. But never even realized she was naked. He just loved her as who she was. Naked was real, but it was his reality. You hear what I'm saying? Are you with me? Right? Like if you cover, there's certain things that whoever, depending on who's covered. I cover my son, and my son is now that he's about to turn 10 this year, about to be in his 10s. I'm introducing him to a little bit more. I'm letting him sit in a few places he didn't get to sit. I'm letting him listen to language that I wouldn't have let him listen to, because I trust him enough, and he'll be the first person to even turn stuff off himself or even come to me and be like, hey, Dad, I'm sorry. I just want you to know, because he knows I'll check his history. I didn't know what this was. This popped up on my thing on YouTube, right? He's been in the system long enough where I'm exposing him to certain things, but because he's covered, there's certain things that he don't get, right? Including sometimes where he runs into children, and these children out here that are uncovered be saying some wild stuff, and he goes through a little bit of a time with it, because he's like, I didn't even know this stuff existed. He's homeschooled too, right? So he's not dealing with some of the stuff that, that I dealt with as a child, and some of our children still have to deal with, unfortunately. But that being said, he's covered. So there's certain things that he's not even exposed to. And he's slowly being exposed to it. He's slowly being given permission to do this. He's slowly being given more chores. He's slowly being told, hey, this is your responsibility. You're supposed to do this in the house. But he's being exposed. But he didn't realize, like, whole time, like, he's got funds, he's got an EIN, he's got his business going, he's doing certain things that we're trying to grow, he's trying to learn, we're trying to teach him about saving, and also at the same time investing, even if he don't know what he's really investing in, but just at least getting it in his mind that he should be seeing growth and stuff like that for things when he gets to a certain age, so he can get his inheritance and do what he's supposed to do, right? That being said, he's still covered in a lot of different ways, and so certain things, if they come out too fast, it freaks him out, because he's not exposed, he hasn't been exposed to that. And when you're covered, there's some things. See, okay, I had a moment, because I know that once again, I'm about to walk heavy. I know once again, this is going to make some person be like, see, he's starting to be in the cult. He's trying to tell y'all better listen to what, look, y'all do what y'all will with this, okay? Shoe fits weird if it doesn't take it off. Any covering that you have, that's why you got to know who your covering is and make sure you're studying. Any covering that you have, beloved, if your covering is righteous and they're leaning you towards certain things and they're teaching you certain things, please make sure that you're learning and gleaning from them, because there's certain things you shouldn't be exposed to. I didn't say to truth. We still do Q&A. We're not getting rid of questions, comments, or concerns. Don't look at me and be like, oh, he's trying to something. Any covering that you have, beloved, any of them, all of them, whoever your covering is, there's certain things you shouldn't be exposed to. Even to the point to where you're covering, you should make sure you cover them from time to time. We haven't gotten here in Genesis yet, but we will get to the story of Noah, right? Right, and Noah, and how Ham didn't get cursed, but Ham's son Canaan gets cursed. Why does he get cursed? Because he saw his father's nakedness, and rather than cover it up, he went out and told his brothers and said, look at all the things, look at all the stuff in there, look at all the nakedness. But somebody who really loves you, they'll cover you. Because even if somebody's dead wrong, even if you drunk as I don't know what, drunk out your mind, and you just laying out there, I ain't trying to let everybody see you naked. It's my responsibility to cover you. Right? And when you wake up, Dad, when you wake up, Pastor, when you wake up, Apostle, whomever, we need to have a talk. Hey, you was naked out there. You was drunk out there. Like, what you doing? You know that your sons could have walked in. You know your daughter-in-law, you know my wife could have walked in and seen you like that. But first things first, cover that boy, cover that girl, cover your brother, cover your sister. We're going to have times. There's plenty of times. Some of y'all already had this. I'm pretty open to it, right? And even if I disagree with it, I'll still hear you out. But then I've had plenty of conversations. Pastor, I didn't like that right there. Even some of the stuff we haven't been doing for a while that we're going to transition slowly back into, but do it different, right? Some of the stuff y'all seen, even some of you have noticed, I'm not on the live sessions of others as much as I used to be. Really haven't been for months. We're going to slowly start getting into some of those things, but we're going to do it a different way. That being said, though, like some of that stuff has come because some of y'all came to me and told y'all know who you are, right? You don't have to identify yourself. You know who you are. We had conversation. It was like, I don't really like that. And you came to me as big brothers and sisters, or sometimes came to me as like, spiritual sons and daughters to a spiritual father. But it was a collective thing where there were certain things going on and y'all were like, we ain't like that. Like, we showed up. If you do it, we'll cover you. We'll try our best to, blah, blah. But we didn't like that. And guess what I said? All right, I hear you. And I told you, I'll pray about it. Right? And sure enough, I came out. We had a meeting. I told y'all straight up. Some of y'all knew more about what it was than the others. But I made the point of saying to me, they're like, yeah, we're going to go back on that. I even talked to Elder Alma about it, and she was in heavy agreement with y'all too. And, came out and was like, yeah, okay. Like, we hear you. So we are supposed to be a bridge and help persons to come in. That being said, we can't be somewhere where you guys don't feel like it's a safe place. One of the reasons why y'all even told us this year was going to be the year where we focus on hashtag a safe place. We heard you. We had to move. We had to be righteous. We had to do what y'all said. Right? So I say all that to say, covering is extremely important. Adam didn't cover his wife. Just because of who he is, she was straight until she gave him the fruit. And then once he ate, he was uncovered too, which meant now both of them are uncovered. We talked about that already, right? And now when we get to verse 7, they both realized they were naked. They realized, like, the thing you've been didn't even register to you because of the covering you had. Right? You hear what I'm saying, beloved? Thank you for that, Brother Craig. I see you. You hear me, beloved? Right? Coverage. Extremely important. Coverage. I'm trying to move past this. I really am. I got to be obedient. Okay, look. To my beautiful brothers and sisters, love all of y'all. I'm going to focus in on some of us who are a little darker hue. What I'm about to say matters towards you as well, but this is something that's a little for us right now. Okay, doesn't mean that you can't learn anything from this. Doesn't mean that you haven't gone through any of this. I'm just saying I'm talking about us right now. Okay, if that makes sense. Y'all are part of us, but we've gone through some things that are a little different in the way that I'm approach this. Okay, just being honest. All right, love y'all though. All right, okay, y'all know my heart on it, but here we go. You know the sisters that are so strong and say that I'm tired of being strong and I want to come. I need somebody to bring me into my soft girl era. They're right. They do need somebody to bring them into their soft girl era. They're wrong at the same time, but they're right. What you mean? They're right. You know why they're right? Because they were never covered. And some of them have never recovered from never being covered. So they're hard, they're brash, pompous, even arrogant at times, it seems. Now, sometimes we go too far with this because sometimes they're just being women and we don't like to see women voice their concerns about anything, right? It's a very wild position to put them in, and we've been putting in the system. But let's be honest, some of them are more masculine sometimes than the most masculine of men, or try to at least act like it until you see them in certain places where they're actually crying or tearing up, or they finally like frustrated they can't put on the facade at that moment in life. Life hits them too hard. But yeah, they do need somebody to bring them in their soft air because many of them have never been covered. I would suggest to you, I'm not saying all, right? And sisters, please feel free to put me in my place if I'm all over the place or if I'm just way off. I would suggest to you that there's a sister listening to me right now or listens to me on a regular basis who has never even really felt covered no matter what marriage, relationship, having children, etc. they were in, never truly felt covered but didn't think that they needed to be, and then realized because they weren't covered it was the end of their relationship. Probably not that simple, but you hopefully get what I'm trying to put out there. Well, y'all hear how strong the wind is? It's pushing the whole car. Wow. Okay. Be careful out here. Uh, it done got more powerful. All right. Anyway, um, I'm right on. Okay. Thank you for that. Matter of fact, I would suggest to you that there's some sisters. This is okay. I'm gonna walk heavy again, right? And I say this as a married man, not trying to do anything with any woman. I have the greatest wife to ever exist, and it's never gonna change. There are some sisters that I've talked to who probably have never felt covered to the point of even be able to ask a man a question and just hear him out and know that he'll hear you out. And probably something that attracted certain persons to somebody's lives. Not saying that's 100%, but I'm saying there's probably some who literally have actually, matter of fact, I know there's some right now that I think about in conversations we've had, but I won't, go through all that stuff. But I'm just saying there are some who literally have never felt like, oh, somebody's going to respect what I'm saying and respect how I'm feeling, or even answer in a manner in which, like, I don't have to be down to be told that I can improve. And ask me how I know this, because I had to become better at this. I had to become greater at this. I had to learn how to listen to my wife, and I'm still learning. I'm still growing, but I had to learn how to be like, oh yeah, like it's okay for me. Like, how can I tell my wife that she could improve in something without it having to be her improvement has to be me bashing her. And even what I thought was bash her, that's why the brothers, we're gonna go over a minute, the 5 love languages, starting on March 1st. We're gonna start doing that every first and third Saturday. So make sure you get your copy, by the way. I'm still looking for the PDF. If we find a free PDF, we'll give it to you guys. And I would suggest, even, by the way, when we start doing that, sisters, I don't. We might do something where every once in a while y'all can come on and listen to something, but we're gonna actually probably, you know, I mean it in this manner too. If you have young boys, as long as they can comprehend, like, we're not really talk about the sexual part too much, but I mean it will be discussed as part of relationships. But I'd say if your child, depending on your child's ability. I would say like even down to 8 years old, maybe 5 years old, depending on how mature they are or how you feel about certain things, or if you trust me enough to do what the word says. But that's why we're even gonna go through 5 love languages, because men will demand that women hear them. There was a brother that said this on Saturday. Men desire for women to hear them and to respect them, and really for respect for us means love. So the same way you say you don't feel love, we say we don't feel respected. But we don't know even our own love language, right? To be able to put it out there and say, hey, this makes me feel respect, type thing, right? You said your grandson was just asking if he can do a Bible study. He can come on. He can come on. You got my information. Just reach out, text, or hit up Sister Renee. If I'm not responding, she'll make sure I get the message. She'll hold me on. She'll hold me accountable. Most definitely. But matter of fact, depending on the age, right now you might have older grandchildren. Depending on the age, make sure you're ready to sit there with them. But I love talking to the babies and stuff. But nowadays, especially because of all this Diddy stuff, I ain't no Diddy, but because of all this Diddy stuff, you gotta be careful, right? And I'm make sure that I protect SOC too. So I don't even want no miss whatever. But so as long as you're ready to sit there and be part of the stuff, then yeah, no problem. I don't have no problem listening, talking to them. I've been doing so for a while. Actually, been doing so for years. So some of you might not even know that I actually do like make it a point to try and talk to our babies. Actually, we got to follow up on the teenager thing too, and get that popping. But yeah, but if you have a young boy, there'll be certain times where we say bring everybody on, maybe, and we'll still have it separated where men will be in the Zoom meeting and maybe others can listen on another platform or something like that once in a while, because it's important to go through it. But it's going to be heavy for our men, obviously, and we're going to kind of keep it there for them. So give us at least a few months before I even do that. But but if you have boys, and if you have teenage boys, and if you have young men, etc., feel free to have them come on in and listen, or at least go through the book, because we're gonna be really up in that thing. Okay. So, but yeah, I say all that to say the covering, learning how to cover, and learning the importance of covering. And so many women who say to us, I need to be brought into my soft era. And we'll say, and I used to be like I didn't agree with it wholly, but I kind of used to snicker at it when a woman would be like, well, I need a man to bring me into my soft era. Because to be honest, I get the other side of that, which is like, what if I as a man was like, you know what? I need a woman to help me to progress, and to help me to get into what it is to have proper EQ, and I need her to be able to show me what respect is, and I need her to show me what commitment is. It kind of seems weird, but the reality is, well, actually I do. I get that from my wife. Thank you, MIT Akita. Hopefully you're feeling better, right? So yeah, it's something that we should recognize and think about and realize the power that lies therein, and so the covering, a lot of our sisters have never been kept. Now here's a wild thing for some sisters that but you're aware, but I don't think you know. You are aware of its existence, but I don't think you have made yourself intimate with too. A lot of these brothers have been uncovered, which is why it's hard for them to cover you properly. That's real talk as well, right? A lot of these brothers have been uncovered, and so they're trying to cover you, and they're trying to recover from being uncovered, right? But we should recognize that they need to be covered. That being said, sisters, I want to now flip it. We're staying in the same race, but maybe we go in a lane over to your lane, because we're gonna run this race together. I want to flip it over to your lane real quick, and I just want to let you know, if he's covering you every step of the way, or if you need to be covered, and you need to recover, and you haven't recovered from being uncovered because you've been dealing with this thing where nobody covered you in the first place. Even your mama that raised you, she could only raise you the best she could because she was uncovered, so she still wasn't giving you everything you needed, but you made it through and you do this and all. Okay, but at the same time, then if he needs to recognize that, hey, he needs to help you into this soft era, and he needs to have it to where you're not always having to feel strong and do everything yourself and all these different things, well, let me help you. That also means that if he's covering you, now once again, we're not talking about any kind of husband, but a righteous husband. We're not talking about any kind of husband, but a kingdom husband. That's what we're talking about. All right. So if he's going to cover you, you got to be covered. right? Like, um, whatever kind of vehicle you have, when it comes to car insurance, they only give you help with what is covered. Ah, hold on. I just almost had a moment right there. Ah, my greatness. Ah, I see you, Sister Monica. Yeah, yeah, that can happen sometimes too, right? But because he didn't just look at you as a stepdaughter, he looked at you as his daughter. Hear me now. Hear me. There's a lot of types of insurance that's out there, and you can have the best of the best insurance. But if you did something that your insurance is like, we don't cover that, they can't cover you. Now, a kingdom husband is willing to cover everybody to the point of laying his life down on the line. But if your husband is willing to lay his life down on the line, let's say he lays his life down on the line for you, that sacrifice, and still betray that sacrifice, that's not on him. Like I said, many of you would sacrifice so that SOC would be able to become what it's becoming and still has yet to become. We putting in work, and I see some of y'all, and some of y'all are still frothing, waiting like Pastor Kofi. We gonna go. When I'm gonna get my assignment? Like, when we gonna do? Some of you still, right? Love y'all for that. Like, y'all are motivating as all heaven. And yeah, if I were to turn around and then do some foolishness, that's why I can't. I got it in me. Can I be honest? In my flesh, I got it in me to be a fool. Some of y'all probably see a little bit of foolish stuff pop out at me. I got it in me to be a fool, to be a turncoat, to be a traitor, to be somebody that would betray the word. I got it in me, right? I'm not beyond temptation. I'm not beyond falling into temptation. That being said, yeah, we all do, right? That being said, what would it look like if we built all this stuff and you helped me and you went through 10 years, 20 years with me doing all this stuff, and we get to the pinnacle, and then all of a sudden, Pastor Kofi was found on the news today doing blah 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 blah. What would that feel like? To where you guys would still probably move. I would hope that you guys would still move on with what's been done, but that would be a major blow, and you couldn't. It would also hurt you, because if I put myself in a certain situation, you would love me, but you couldn't cover me. This is one of the things that hurts the most in my personal relationship. This is some reason why splitting from persons, splitting from relationships, friendships, etc., is so hard, because somebody will come to you who you love and who you had like a long relationship with and all this stuff, and they'll be asking you for things, and you're like, I can't do that anymore. I can't. I'm not your friend anymore, right? Like, I'm not your partner anymore. Like, we were like brothers, but I can't be your brother anymore. I told you this was going to happen, and I told you if you did this, I can't support you. That's one of the hardest things, man. When it's trying, is one of the things that happens. Like, when we get to a place where it's like, man, I used to cover you, and that used to be like, it used to make my day to cover you. Now I realize that even though I still have that nostalgia in me, I have to realize that that's not where I am anymore. That's why it hurts the Most High, that those who He loves, those who He created even, are still some of the ones that He's going to have to be like, oh, I mean, I took all that time to create you, and I can't let you in. If you want somebody to cover you, you got to be covered. When you sign the contract with the insurance, then when you sign the contract, when you make the covenant with your wife, this is why you need to have this studied in and out, backwards and forwards. You got to go through proper procedure, proper protocol. I told y'all this year, y'all ain't gonna like Pastor Kofi. I'm not even in my bag yet. I haven't really started disciplining folk. Some folk been getting it behind the scenes, and I know you don't like it, but thank you for being obedient. Right? I'm just saying there's certain things I can't let. I can't. I don't even want to say it. Ugh. There's certain things that just can't be slide anymore with us. We have to move forward, including with me. That's why I'm gonna put my stuff out there. I have my stuff shivering. I'll probably do the same thing today. I'll probably be shivering over here and go back over where it's windy, but at least y'all can see, okay, Pastor Kofi did his push-ups and he did his sit-ups or whatever. I can't do sit-ups over here. It's cold as I don't know what, for real. For y'all heard the whole van is rocking, but I'm gonna do something, right? But I'm gonna get up. I've been getting up earlier. I've been going for walks more. I've been making sure I'm not ready to run yet. But I'm starting to get there. My gut is still gutting, but at least it's solid, you know. But these are things that we have to, we got to get into and realize there's a lot of things like that about us or whatever. Like we have to put in the work and we have to be willing to do so. And we got to call stuff up. We got to be disciplined. No more can we go back. I'm still not even saying what I want to say, or not even what I want to say, what I'm supposed to say. Let me stop. Y'all hear me beating around the bush? Let me stop beating around the bush. I really don't want to say what I'm supposed to say. Okay. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Okay. When it comes to your actions this year, I'm gonna start asking you more and more. What did you do and what didn't you do? Because I'm asking me, and if it's for me and my house, and not just my wife and Solomon and I, but I'm asking us too. And that means anybody in my family, anybody in our diaspora, I gotta ask you the same thing. Discipline your disciple. Okay, amen. Come on, big C. Brutal Charles is my elder too, but the double OG, triple OG say it. Hey, right? There's certain things. If I see Sister Knight say amen on, I'm gonna go ahead because that's the big homie right there. That's the elders, right? So I'm just saying, okay, like yeah, we got to start asking because there's some things we're doing, and I'm gonna just be honest with you. Some of us, you know who you are. And if it becomes a problem, then we gotta. If I haven't talked to you about it, blah blah, don't worry about it. But you know who you are, and this is not just me. Even though I can say there's some things that I've seen, but also this is Holy Spirit more fueled than me. So there's some things I don't even know what's going on. So somebody please don't be like, "What you know, Pastor Kofi?" I don't. I may or may not know. This is. I'm just telling you what my calling is and what my work is, and what obedience is. And as far as outside of Yah, right? My greatest work for any being. My wife is my greatest work. Solomon is my next greatest work. I have babies. I have family, right? That I need to work for. But also too, beloved, I'm sent to be a pastor after Yah's own heart. That means if you are his greatest work, then I've got to make sure I treat you as such, including even with chastisement, right? So, beloved, I'm just saying, if you're moving outside of covering, can I make a degree? Can I make? We've already done the decree part. I think we've already talked about the consequences. Can I just? This is just me making right now, asking a question, making a request. Please don't move outside of covering. I hope y'all know me enough now by now to know I'm not breathing down your neck. Some of you have been waiting for me to actually breathe down your neck or breathe over your shoulder a little bit more, at least tell you what it is that I want more, right? But what I'm saying is please stop moving outside of covering. Hebrews 12. So matter of fact, that's a great one. Let's read that. Right? Please stop. That's Hebrews 12:6. This is right after by faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. All right. Look, please stop moving outside of covering. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 6. Thank you. Thank you. That's Holy Spirit right there. Thank you, Sister Shirley. Thank you for being led. Steve, please stop moving out of covering. Right? Yep, exactly. For whom, matter of fact, we're gonna go back some. Let's start at verse 1. So by faith, so Hebrews 11:1 is where it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. And it starts going through by faith. This person did this by faith. Sarah did by faith. Abraham did by faith. Enoch did by faith. Moses did by faith, etc., etc., etc. Okay? And we get to the place that now we're in Hebrews chapter 12. Let's start at verse 1. Matter of fact, we're gonna. Mm, you done open something up, Sister Shirley. Let me check my time. You done opened up a portal. Sorry, I guess we don't call it a portal, but you know what I'm saying. You done opened up a path of righteousness for us to go down. My greatness. I want to be like Sister Shirley when I grow up. She be throwing these scriptures out here. All right, watch this. Let's go to Holy Spirit. You take over because I want to go everywhere. Okay, let's go. Let's go all the way back to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31. Once you have it, say amen. Say, I got it. Say, I'm with you. We're going to go all the way back. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31. I want to go so many different places, but we can't go back but so far. All right. So this is by faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31. If you have it, say amen. Say, I got it. Say, I'm with you. Say, I'm listening. Hebrews 11, 31. All right. By faith, the harlot, the what they call them, the 408s, is that it? By faith, the harlot. By faith, the prostitute. By faith, the hoe. Okay, and wasn't an Israelite, by the way, either. But by faith, the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. Okay, and what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and of Samson and of Jephthah, of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets. So there's a lot of persons we can go through by faith, he's saying. Right? But watch this, verse 33, who through faith subdued kingdoms. Right? Hear this, beloved. We're talking about covering. All these persons covered faith in something and they worked in their faith. Right? Those 403s, okay, whatever it is. Okay. Who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions. Hold on. This is what we do when we're covered and we stay obedient. Watch this. It says these persons, right? Then there's more that are mentioned. I'm just starting at verse 31 to kind of give us a mentality of how many persons are moving in faith and working in faith and therefore are remaining covered. Verse 33, who through faith subdued kingdoms, right? They took over kingdoms or got rid of them. Wrought righteousness. That means that they made sure that they brought with them right lawful standing. Yes, the law is important, and this is in your so-called New Testament. All right. What else did they do? Obtain promises. When I'm covered, promises are obtained. Okay. Stop the mouths of lions. When I'm thrown in the lions, then I'm here to tell you, I know that you're dealing with college debt. I know that you're dealing with bad relationships. I know that some of you are dealing with domestic incidents more than you want. And believe me, some of y'all that probably don't even know that I know. I promise you, I know, but there's some things that I respect. Whatever, right? Leave that for outside. It ain't got to be public. I'm saying all that to say this, though. Ain't nothing like being thrown in the lion's den. Right? Ain't nothing like the bullet is. Look, I done had gun to the head, gun put in front up to the chest before. I promise you, ain't nothing like being put. I can't even imagine being thrown in the lion's den to where the lions were so hungry. See, Daniel was saved and Daniel was protected. He was covered. So the lions didn't even open their mouths, but they were so hungry. They kept them hungry because it's a punishment. So you don't want to throw somebody in the lions den and the lions are like, whatever. They might even paw you or kill you, whatever, but they want to make a spectacle when this happens. They threw him in the lion's den. And the lions were so hungry that when they threw the next person in the very next day, the lions caught him before he even hit the ground, were already ripping him to shreds. Right? I've been in debt before. I ain't never been in nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Right? But this is what being covered gets us. Right? quench the violence of fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Adonai, Hananiah, and Azariah, escaped the edge of the sword. Should have been taken out, but still here. Out of weakness were made strong, because you are weak. When I am weak, thou art strong. Wax valiant in flight. In flight. Wax valiant in fight. When they fought courageously. Turn to flight the armies of the aliens. Turn to flight all the foreigners. Women received their dead raised to life again. Mothers that thought they lost their children saw their children come back, or lost their husbands saw their husbands come back. And others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Meaning that there's persons who were willing to be not just a living sacrifice, but be sacrificed, to become martyrs, because they knew that even their martyrdom was nothing to be compared to the glory, even the glorified body that had yet to be received and revealed. Verse 36, and others, it's still not over. We got to be covered, knowing that stuff's going to happen. Watch this, it's still not over. Verse 36, excuse me, and others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings. Persons were out there getting the cat o' nine tails, while persons were making fun of them. Sound like some of our people. They were stoned. They were sawn asunder. They were sawed. Were tempted. Were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. The world wasn't even worthy of these folk. The world be often persons that they're not even worthy to be in the same position as. I used to think this was such a bad thing to say until I saw this is a biblical saying. Like, do you know that there are places that you go that are not worthy of you, and yet they will try to take your life? We got to be covered, right? Of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a Tabah report through faith, received not the promise. Elohim having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. In other words, do you know that there's persons who were dealing with all this stuff and had not received the promise? What is the promise? The promise of Holy Spirit being in us, because Yahushua had given up the ghost on Golgotha Hill. That there are persons who did all that and did not know. Do you know that there are persons who didn't even have the scroll of Genesis and were willing to be martyrs, knowing that Christ was coming, had not even received Christ, but received them through faith, worked as if the Messiah was there, worked as if the second Adam had come, worked as if we could be sinless and perfect, because they were covered. Even before they knew who the sacrificial lamb was, even before they knew his name, even before they knew the name of the Most High, right? This is why I say be careful. Just because some of these cats are going to church and stuff, they might not know his name, but it doesn't mean they're not covered. Know their heart and let Yah really judge the heart. You can't know the heart. All right. They didn't even know the promise yet. Having provided some better thing for us, we have a better thing, because at least we can see it. That they without us should not be perfect, which means that they are going to be perfected by us, past, present, and future, working together. While they were doing things that perfected us in the future, we're doing things that perfects what they stood for in the past. We're standing on the same thing, even though we're not even alive at the same time. This is why we talk about eternity. You said some people did a lot of bad under that notion. For sure, right? So now chapter 12, getting close to what Sister Shirley gave us. Wherefore, so that means because of what we just talked about. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight. Let us lay aside what? Every weight. Take them weights off. I know you be going through life and you be training and you put them ankle weights on through the day because you trying to get your stuff stronger down there. Or you put some weights on here or there. You put some stuff around your neck and you carrying some things. But you don't have to lay aside every weight right now. This is a safe place. Lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us. Lay that aside too. It's time. And let us run with patience the race that is set for us. It's going to be easier to run without that weight. Looking unto Yahashua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. Talking about what he went through. He endured the cross, the tav, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Elohim. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself. I want to explain that. I'm going to leave that alone. Holy Spirit said it go. Right? For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. If he had to go through it, you're going to go through it. Ye have not resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. All right, now we get chain of command. Covering. Right? Okay. So what comes up next? Sorry. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of Adon, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. Why? For whom Adon loveth, whom Adon achabah, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son with whom he receiveth. Verse 7, if ye endure chastening, Elohim dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Discipline is part of your being raised. Yeah, can I say my father might have gone too far in spankings here or there? Sure. But he never was the type of father to just spank you just because. Like you might say you didn't deserve him to go that far, but did you deserve a little spanking here or there? Yeah. Thank you for the love. Right? How you doing, Elijah? Right? Like discipline is necessary. Yeah. And when you were a child, you might not ask for it or this and that. You know, there's even some children, it's very rare, but they'll be like, man, I don't think you love me because you don't discipline me. Right? That's a very interesting thing that I didn't know really existed until I got to be older. It was like, oh, there's children that actually be mad sometimes that they not, or especially when their parents aren't around that much, and they'll be like, well, you didn't even discipline, you never even spanked me. And I'd be like, dang, I didn't know that was something the person be holding on to. I ain't want no personal whooping. My daddy was there all day, and I ain't want no personal whooping. I was in one of them households that if somebody said, Kofi, all you were supposed to do was say, ma'am or sir, and if they ain't get no response coming, and you better hear some pitter patter of little feet. That's all. I know what it was about, and it could be something crazy. Kofi, give me my purse. In your mind, you want to say, "Mama, your purse is right," but you better not say nothing. It's right there in front of her. It's at her feet. No, just be obedient, because you might get a little something, right? They did a little bit. My parents, I know some of y'all didn't do it at all. My parents did a little bit of the standing in the corner stuff, but for real, you was gonna get it, but you're gonna be obedient. You said, "Do I know how many people it is that think that TD Jakes is more powerful than God?" I mean, that's not what I'm talking about right now, but I guess I can see what you're saying as far as, yeah, they're covered. I guess maybe you're saying like they think they're more covered by TD Jakes than by God. But once again, God, is not even a Hebrew term, or it's not even Paleo Hebrew term. God is the name of one of the five, not five. Sorry, he named one of the 12 boys that are born, one of the 13 children of Israel. right? They would have said Elohim or even Elohim. But a lot of persons don't care about Elohim, his office, nor do they care about his name, Yahweh, or his authority. And a lot of persons, don't look at it that way. And as I was saying earlier, there's that balance that you have to walk. The bigger, I can only imagine. Like, we have a lot of persons worldwide that are part of what we do. I can only imagine being at a place where I come to a service. I've been blessed to speak in front of thousands here or there, um, but I can only imagine every Sunday. I mean, what he kind of blew up in the '90s and started. They actually built the church, I guess, in where are they at? Where are y'all at? I went there before. Y'all are in the Fort Worth, where Potter's house is, like the Fort Worth area. Minister Bertram took me. I never been inside, but he took me there. Um, but in Dallas, oh, okay. But they must be like on the outskirts of Dallas or a different part of Dallas than I've been to. But that's right, it is Dallas. You're right. My fault. It's just it's closer to another area than what I think. I still struggle with over there. I know there's H-Town, Dallas, Fort Worth, and there's another place, and I still kind of in my mind have a weird time trying to figure out where where all those places are. But yeah, but that being said, and how you doing? Is it we Will, how you doing? Um, yeah, well, they have a lot of churches have a lot of places like World Changers. Is that Creflo Dollars, Pastor Creflo Dollars place? Um, there's like two or three in like the Atlanta area just by itself, and you go there and they have everything timed out where you'll see, like, they'll have praise and worship right in front of you. They'll have all this stuff in different places or whatever. They have screens where you can see the message where the main place is, but then you if you're in Utah, if you're in California, for whatever, everybody's having the same experience and they get the same word, and then they go home or whatever. So it's interesting how they're doing that now. I don't even know how I feel about that. I guess it's all right. I mean, it's like what we do it virtually. I guess it's the same thing, right? But anyways, um, yeah, there are persons who think that they're greater or whatever. But like I said, and really what got us on this is the covering. We've been talking really heavy today. I don't think we got to Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. We read verses 6 and 7 basically today. But the covering is crucial, and how much the covering is necessary, and how much covering is needed for each other, and how much husbands should cover their wives, and even how wives should cover their husbands, and how much leaders should cover those who are under them, and how much even those should cover their leadership. Right? Like there is something to be said for how easy it is for persons to come into our communities and our diaspora and get at our leadership. Right? There is something to be said for that. You know, like how easy was it, and come to find out it was wrong, but just because some persons didn't like him. How easy was it to how easy was it to basically with Dr. Umar literally just everybody say he's not a real doctor, he's not licensed, even though he went to college and his license is something that you can easily find for yourself, right? But how easy was it for us to make sure that we tore him up? I see you will. Right? Like, how easy was that to happen, where we let that happen so easily? It really didn't take much. How easy was it for somebody to step in, and I know Malcolm wasn't as big and was starting over and stuff, but how easy was it for somebody to step in during a service, right? They were having a service. This wasn't a rally or anything, it was a service. How easy was it for somebody to step in a mosque and gun down Minister Malcolm? You know? How easy was it for us to forget Rosa Parks needed a place to stay? Somebody from outside of the diaspora found out that she literally didn't even have an apartment, or was about to lose her apartment, and paid the rent for the rest of her life. Like, if anybody deserved that, it's her. But we don't even think about covering, even our leadership. Like, Rosa Parks deserved to be covered. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. deserved to be covered. And he was. They got him. Anyway, sometimes it is what it is, right? Huey P. Newton. I hear us, and I'm not mad at it, but I hear us put, respect as far as this is Dr. So and so. This is, I've got PhDs at the wall. I've got master's degrees. I'm such and such, this and that, or whatever. This is my position. I'm the presiding prelate. I'm bishop of this archdiocese, et cetera, et cetera. And we won't even be like Dr. Huey P. Newton. Sure, he ended his life ended pretty bad. And by the way, if he went through the pain, not just the emotional pain, but the literal physical pain that man went through for the rest of his life, maybe you would have looked at some recreational stuff to help with your stuff too. You know, a lot of persons saying all this stuff. Well, so and so did, and so and so did. Yeah, yeah. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But yeah. But I mean, if Snoop gonna come out and Snoop gonna do stuff that he does, and all he got to do is come smoke a joint, and everybody say, "Oh, look at Uncle Snoop," then we surely can look at persons who put their life on the line. That's why I even say for persons, even if you don't agree with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which by the way, he got off when he finally said, "Okay, I'm gonna go back to what I wanted to do initially, which was to not be non-peaceful." He was told by the persons that he worked for he had to be non-violent. That's how a lot of church stuff works. He came into a church group. The person, go research who was in position in Martin Luther King Jr.'s position before him, and you'll discover that he was somebody that was like, no, we got to be hands on. We got to defend ourselves. We might have to make sure that we got our weapons together, stuff like that. And then Martin was voted in after, and he was told, if you're going to take this position, this is what you're going to do. Towards the end of his life, he started saying, no, I think I led my people into a burning house. And he realized, like, we needed to be more segregated. We needed to be more separated. And for that, a lot of his own left him. And then when he was left and had less security, that's when they popped him. Yeah, boards of trustees can run the church, for sure. Families run churches. Shoot, families can run these things called followers of the way. A lot of us bring churchy behavior. That's what I was saying the other day. Stop being so churchy. A lot of us bring churchy behavior into the fold. So all we do is we put some fringes on, right? We grow some locks. We cover our hair. We put on, the right clothing and the right appearance. We have a form of Elohim and deny the power thereof. There's a lot of cats that's still out here doing the same thing. They just say Elohim now, right? And for real, and somebody didn't like what I was just saying, so they reported us. Praise y'all. We're pretty much finished. Whoever you are, just to let you know, we're pretty much finished, right? Real is rare. That's right. But we're pretty much finished. Just to let you know, you didn't stop anything. But the reality is that we don't have persons that really acknowledge the covering and how important it is. And why did Eve come outside the covering once again, or so-called Eve come out of the covering? She came out of the covering because she thought that consequences didn't exist. She thought that death was inconsequential. She didn't think that there was such thing as, or that death would actually come upon her, and that was what released her into the lust, the lust of the eyes, and lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. That's what made her think, oh, now the fruit is appealing. It's also maybe something that I should, it's appealing by the look. Man, it's appealing as far as it's appealing to the look. It's appealing to the taste, even though she never tasted it. And also, she said that it would make me wise, but it made her wise in her own eyes. And as soon as her own eyes were open, she recognized that she was naked. Once again, she didn't become naked. She recognized that she was covered, and now she was uncovered. This is why when we start tomorrow, we're going to deal with covering again, because now we got to get to the first sacrifice that's done by Yah to correct somebody who now has to die and deal with that consequence, but at least doesn't have to walk around naked until it's time for her to get in her glorified body. That's why we teach, and we'll go into this. Like I said, we'll start with this tomorrow, but that's why we teach at SOC. And I believe we teach very well, pretty well this contextually, that each and every one of us have to recognize when it comes to sacrifice, when it comes to the things we're going through, etc. Each and every one of us, praise Yah. Prayerfully you catch this. We must recognize that sacrifice or offerings right, are done to cover. Whatever you offer to the Lord, this is why David said, I will not offer up anything to Yah that doesn't cost me something. Right? Walking this path cost you something. I know. I was on track. You guys see by the numbers of different stuff. I was on track. We was gonna blow it up. We was gonna hit, 100,000 at least for everything. I don't know if we would ever got to the millions like some, but we would have been. We could have, I could have watered everything down and got paid through YouTube. You know, we could have done a lot of different things, but we made a decision to do something that's actually gonna last, and not something that just makes sure that we get something in the moment. What you do for Yah will last. Testimony time, real quick, and then we're done. One of the greatest. It's one of the weirdest things to me still. However, it's one of the greatest things I think has ever happened to us as SOC family. That there are like places all over the world. When you guys be talking about somebody on TikTok pretending you this and that, there's places and platforms and stuff all over the place where I am apparently popular on apps that I don't know exist. Right, and on AI now, apparently there's persons that are taking messages that I preach and turning them into things that they can learn and other stuff. And it's odd because I don't necessarily know if I like it, right? But it shows how doing what Yah says, even when numbers go down, so to speak. So you think, just like we were saying today, I thought y'all had to be the ones to tell me don't go anywhere else or don't take a break, don't wait and then come back on. Because as far as what I saw on social media, it was saying that we had no signal. It was a red thing. And when I was down there, it was saying everything was great to go. Right? But then I came up this way, and as soon as I was like, okay, I'm gonna just ride somewhere else and I'll try it again, you guys saw something different than what I saw. And I want you to see that because even like a lot of you had to teach me, for example, persons watch the live session all the time and never even just click on it, which means that if you don't click on it, it doesn't show as numbers to me. But also there's a lot of stuff where numbers are shrunk down and you're supposed to like be somebody that nobody knows about. But when it's time for us to move on something, like, Passover, looks like we might have 30, 40 of us, you know, Memorial Day meetup, looks like there might be, about 40 or so of us at least. I'm expecting, 60 of us at some point, even if it's like, I think altogether, the numbers will get to probably about 80 or so, but I'm expecting probably, excuse me, no less than maybe 50 or 60 persons at the same time to be at Feast of Tabernacles. Um, so there's just a lot of things, a lot of things going on where I'm realizing, the power that we have and the structure that we have and what Yah's building at last. And I'm seeing the babies, affected by it. I'm seeing parents talking about giving testimonies, how they've changed parenting styles because of what we have been able, not just we have been able to teach. I've seen wives saying that they respect what Elder Alma is, and I see husbands respecting what myself is. I see a lot of change that's happened, and I even see some things happening in me to where now, like, I'm having to become even better and take stuff where it's stuff that I didn't ever think in the midst of all this stuff. I didn't think I'd have to change certain behaviors that I have to lead better, but it's causing me to become greater as well. So, we really are thankful and grateful for all the work that's being put in. I say all that to say that it's been my pleasure to be with you all, to have you guys cover my insufficiencies. I know I'm over. It's 11:01. We're finishing up. But to cover me and prayerfully, it's been a pleasure for you to be covered. Prayerfully, even with the discipline that's covering, you'll still see that that's one thread of thousands of threads of sheet that will be put upon you, or of covering that'll be put over you. So don't I hope don't get caught up on the one thread of discipline that might come your way, or the one thread of questioning that might come your way, knowing that there's many other threads that are going to tie this thing together. So love y'all lots. That's all that I have for today. I am going to take my leave. I will see you guys this evening. Hopefully you all continue to stay strong. MITs, don't forget tomorrow we have our training. I will probably, I can't guarantee it because it's my day off and there's stuff I have to do, and I am still hosting family and stuff. However, I will do my best to support as much SOC stuff going on tomorrow and Wednesday as possible. And yeah, just keep on making sure you're paying attention, looking for those emails, texts, etc., that are going to be coming through. If you have questions about certain things, we've already told you certain things that you need to be saving up for, getting ready for, not just for Passover, but also for Memorial Day meetup. So those things need to be kind of done, and we need to get stuff together. You need to be saving up. If you need help with saving things and you say SOC, I want SOC to save blah blah whatever, okay, we'll save it, but you're still going to be responsible for making sure you get your stuff together. But if we need to talk that through, let us know. We appreciate, love you all, appreciate you all. Sister Kimberly praying for you all out there. I'll try to see if I can reach out today. Sister Shima, I'm gonna try and see if I can reach out today. I don't know if you're available right after this or not. Um, Thank you again, Minister Samantha Ray, for the word. Let's keep Minister Moselle and her daughter in prayer. Uh, Minister Morel, we're keeping you in prayer and keeping you lifted up as you're continuing to bless others and help others do a lot of stuff. And hopefully you're not having too much stuff messing with your mental health in the midst of all that. Um, Sister Sabrea, you just on my heart, praying for you and praying for the babies, praying for your husband as well. Brother Cole, if you're listening, praying for you. Please contact me if you get a chance. I know we didn't get a chance to talk on Saturday. Brother Ali, we're lifting you up in prayer concerning transition into something else. Um, I mean, everybody could use prayer. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to. Okay, all right. I'm gonna pray more than that, but just say those persons in particular. Uh, Elder Select Tamara, I know that you're busy today because you're going to work on Mondays. Maybe we can, if we do have our conversation tomorrow, maybe we can talk about. I have an assignment. That's why I was asking you the other Saturday or on Saturday if you were available. I have an assignment for you. If not, it's actually getting closer and closer to where it's going to make it tougher for you time wise to come up with something. So, but I do have an assignment for you if you're able. Um, oh, no toil today. Okay. Well, if you're available, uh, or I'll try to. Well, if you don't hear from me, feel free to reach out. However, Big Brother Tom is still praying for you and the family. Hopefully that it's difficult with the loss of somebody, but as you said, you know what you believe. Stay up, stay strong. Dr. T, I'm praying for you as always, but I'm praying for your. Forgive me, I'm gonna forget the name, but the youngest son. He's been in my prayers lately. Brother Keith, praying for you. Hopefully, we'll be able to have a phone conversation soon. Amen. Yeah. But love y'all to life. Y'all take care. Let's be disciplined. Let's do what we got to do. Let's stay strong, stay united, stay committed. And I will talk with you guys hopefully later this evening at 6 p.m. New York time. Even though it is cold, I'll probably take my behind over there and do like we did yesterday, do those push-ups, even if I can't do them on the ground. Um, I'll find a place where I can do them at an angle like we did yesterday. There's a playground not too far from me, so maybe I'll come on the regular Kofi _ 40 channel and do them over there, right? And brothers, that means if I can do it, we can do it together. If anybody want to do it, right? But especially right now, and I'll try to start making sure when I'm up earlier to remind myself to make sure that I start getting on the treadmill with y'all and stuff like that at least. And let's continue to work. So love y'all to life. That's all that I got for you today. Don't have a shout out for you, especially with all the signal issues and everything going on. So we'll just leave it here for today. Thank you for being patient with us, by the way. What it take us like 40 something minutes to get started, literally just to get signal, then to get out of the wind, then to get signal again, then to get set up. So y'all are troopers. Love y'all. Hopefully it was worth the wait. I believe it was. But thank you again. We'll talk to you guys soon to We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. We're thankful to the moderators, ministerial staff, SOC, secretary, Lottie Dottie, everybody. If it's your first time, one time, many, whatever the case might be, love you all to life. This Thursday, we'll go back to having our regional meetings. So if you want to show up for the regional meeting with us, feel free to. If you're with, Dr. T, we're going to send you an email. You got a new list. So we'll have a discussion about that too, because even though you can call whomever you like, I'd like your focus to go from where you were in Georgia and a little bit of what you were doing with, West Coast to now. Like, hopefully your focus can be on the East Coast up there, which I've seen you do a little bit of already. So I'll try to get that to you as well. So other than that, if there's something else, Minister Shante, I don't need to send you documentation. Working on it. Calendars, we told you the calendars. If they're not already on their way, they should be on there. We're double checking our list and triple checking it, and then we're going to contact everybody. So if you don't hear something from me today saying, hey, your calendar's taken care of, and it's on the way, since we had a lot of persons that said that they didn't get anything at all, we did find out what happened, and it's a chain of command issue. We'll leave it at that, but we'll make sure we take care of it ourselves, and we'll be diligent with it. So don't worry. Even if you haven't given a $10 donation, don't worry about it. And we'll try to do some kind of makeup for you guys. Maybe we'll do a special teaching just for you guys who got the calendar or something like that, who didn't get your calendar, whatever, just so we can make sure that we do something to make it up to you. Okay. So sorry about that, but love you all to life. You all take care. Continue to do great things. Hey, how you doing, Ebony? And to everybody who's on with us. If I missed you today, once again, setup and just a lot of stuff been crazy. So please forgive me if I didn't say your name. I think I saw Sister Greta. Might not have said your name either. But love you all to life. You all take care. Sister Greta, by the way, you had a couple persons that were interested in the tile that you made, the one that goes around the neck, not the one that's on not this one. Or well, mine is covered up, but the bracelet, right? And if you're not familiar, I don't have the tile with me. My Sister Greta is the one who made this and a couple other things, and had the shark tooth necklace and stuff like that. So if you're interested, this is the same person. Please remember to support each other's businesses. But yeah, anyways, love you all to life. You all take care. Continue to do great things, and we will talk to you all soon. And as always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, your heart shout that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, take care. If I don't see you tonight, I'll see you early Thursday Rising Prayer. And let's make sure we support all these great things that are going on, especially with the two that I know for sure, as far as the SOC related. Let's make sure that we support Dr. T, Minister Shante on the Zoom, and support Elder Select Tamara, not only when she does the live session on Tuesdays, I believe, but also she's been doing great work posting it on YouTube. So make sure you go on there. Maybe you subscribe to her channel and help her to get something and share it with others when she's sharing some of these great messages too, so that we can promote each other. So many different things. If I start going through that rabbit hole, I'm already over time. Just love y'all. Take care of each other. Continue to support, and I will talk with you guys soon. All right. Shalom, family. Peace. Take care.